morning, everyone. Thanks for joining our session today. Who saw the session yesterday from Sean? Most. That's cool. Because we go a little bit deeper. You know, Sean was really fast, but he covered everything more or less. And we will start today a little bit talking about Verizon Cloud, especially on Microsoft Azure. Peter and Pim will show you about our other technology, AirWatch, a new CSP fling which we introduced for AirWatch, importing interesting things into AirWatch, and Peter will show you SCCM, Airlift, how to compete, how to sell WorkspaceOne instead of Citrix, which helps you a little bit to position the product. So my name is Felix.
My name is Peter Schommer. I'm the Senior Solution Architect for the Citrix Pursue or Complete team, however you want to call it. A lot of focus on Citrix. I worked 20 years as a Citrix consultant, moved to VMware 5 years or 5.5 years ago, and worked basically with all legacy products from Verizon over Upload to VM, all the stack again.
Okay, my name is Pim van der Vis. I joined VMware about 3 years ago with the acquisition of Immediate, which is now called User Environment Manager, UEM, and I recently moved to AirWatch, and because of that they said, well, now you have to stop using that name, let's change the name of AirWatch to WorkspaceOne UEM. So still work with UEM, it's just a completely different product now. It now stands for Unified Endpoint Management, but I'll show a little bit later.
Yeah, we have also a lot of space for questions, discussions later on, but if you have any questions during the session, feel free to reach. So we have plenty of time going through that. We did last year in Barcelona a session about Verizon Cloud. There was some updates coming over the last months, especially on Microsoft Azure, our platform, or Verizon Cloud and Azure, which we can use. But we have also now, maybe you heard, Horizon on VMC, on VMware Cloud on AWS. So anyone heard the announcement of VMware going to host workloads on Amazon? 1, 2, 3, okay. So what is Horizon Cloud, or how our Horizon solution looks like as of today? So we still have our IBM Cloud. So this is an offering which is a full service, so Sean showed it. So you as a customer or as a partner, you focus on the application and image management and the overall infrastructure. So how your application goes to your backend system, how your users can use applications. So you focus really on the part, the user part, the image management part, things like that. And all the infrastructure, so the hosting, the Horizon platforms, things like that comes from a service from us. So you just consume. You say, I need 500 desktops for 3 months, and you get 500 desktops. But what is inside, how you configure it, this is still part of you. This is our offering, Verizon Cloud Hosted, which we offer on the IBM Cloud. Formerly it was called the SoftLayer Cloud. But we have also the Azure part, and this is very similar. So you can use Verizon Cloud on Microsoft Azure, and it's running in your subscription or in the subscription of the end customer. So what we do here is we put on top of your Azure subscription a Verizon Cloud infrastructure. I will cover how it looks like in detail from a technical side. But here the approach is the same, so you don't need to worry about the infrastructure. Of course, Microsoft is doing that for you, so they host the data center. The Horizon platform itself is also managed by us and installed by us, completely automated. And you focus on the parts to manage your endpoints, you manage your application sets, things like that. And this is Horizon Cloud. So whenever you hear Horizon Cloud, it's something service offered, so you don't need to do everything by your own. But we still have, of course, Horizon Traditional. So Horizon 7, now it's introduced Horizon 7.5. This is something you traditionally install on-premise in your data center, in the data center of your customer, and you're responsible for everything, of course. So you do the design of the vCenter, vSphere, all the hosting, the storage, the networking infrastructure, and you put your Horizon on top, and you do it. But now with Verizon Cloud, with VMware Cloud on AWS, so we need to be careful here, it's not Verizon Cloud on AWS, it's VMware Cloud on AWS. We have now the features that you can get a vCenter and a vSphere stack completely managed from us, hourly based, so you say, I need 8 hours these infrastructure on AWS data centers on physical dedicated hardware. And on top of that, you can add your traditional Horizon 7 infrastructure. So from a technology side, Horizon 7 is on AWS or on-premise exactly the same, but it's a different approach. Here you have a managed vSphere infrastructure, and here you're responsible for everything. So very high level, but overall it's always the same approach what we want to give you, or the end customers of course. So we want to give everyone applications, desktops, shared sessions. We want to give them a super easy to use and fully integrated environment, and we have technologies like App Volumes or User Environment Manager, which is also called UEM, to help you to speed up, to bring a rich client and the best user experience to all of your users. It's very important, of course, not to deliver just a desktop or a terminal server session to an end user. So this was okay, I would say, the last 10 years, but now it's getting over to a modern style of work and a modern way to consume applications, to consume SaaS services, to consume your own applications you host. And for this, we have WorkspaceOne. WorkspaceOne is not new, so WorkspaceOne exists since 3 years. Our vision and our technology, what we have here, is a central portal. If you open it from a Mac, from a Windows, from a mobile phone, whatever, it is always the same, and your users get always an access to all their applications. And all application means your cloud application, your Salesforce, your on-premise Citrix environment, your cloud desktop from Microsoft Azure, whatever talks SAML, whatever talks the traditional communication, we can integrate that. And integration is not just we have an icon here and you press that and you enter your credentials to access your desktop. So we have single sign-on, we have a technology called True SSO. You log in with a certificate to your desktop. So you never ever need to enter a username and password as an end user, for example. I will show you that live now, how it looks like. We have a platform, it's called Test Drive. It's open to everyone, so if you want to have a demo in front of your customer, if you want to have your own experience, just register please to Test Drive, come to us, we can create you an account, and you can do what I do now. Because it's pretty powerful to show everyone the whole portfolio of VMware. If you go to this Test Drive platform, if you log into WorkspaceOne, here you have some example desktops, applications around the world from different platforms. So you see you have a Linux desktop, a Windows 7 desktop, an NVIDIA desktop, but you have also published applications or SaaS applications. And one good example, what I always do with my customers is I open a SaaS application, which is Workday in this case, and WorkspaceOne makes a single sign-on, and then the customer logs in and say, oh, you're not prepared. No, I'm prepared, because WorkspaceOne analyzed my endpoint and said, okay, you want to access this SaaS application, which contains some sensitive data maybe, but to do that, or to allow that, your endpoint needs to be controlled by WorkspaceOne by AirWatch, for example. Or you can start an application to say, okay, if you want to access Salesforce, for example, and I'm now not in the company office, I'm not connected maybe with the VPN, WorkspaceOne detects that and say, okay, now you need to have a two-factor authentication, so I push a radius or an RSA token first to you, and then you get access to the application. So we can integrate for each application, for each service here, different authentication and security methods to give every end user the right access to applications and of course protect them by security. So we go a little bit deeper later with this for PIM. What I want to show you is very quickly Horizon Cloud and Azure, the admin dashboard. So we invest a lot of time in this, and this is a really cool interface because you can centrally manage in this interface multiple nodes. So in my environment here, I have, for example, here one node which is running in Amsterdam, but I have also one in Singapore. But I have one central management where I can control them, and it takes about 45 minutes to run a new instance somewhere in the world, which is really cool, and you don't need to do anything for that. You go in our console and say, I want to deploy a node now in Japan. You drink 45 minutes of coffee, and then you get an email and say, hello, your node is ready, you can deploy your desktops. Really powerful. Yeah, you get some basic informations here, and the overall approach is exactly the same you know from Horizon or from any other vendor. So you have your master images, you have farms, you add applications, and you assign them to users. Very straightforward. But the power really comes that everything is automated to install. You never ever need to go to Azure to do anything after your master implementation is done. So really easy, really quick solution to do that. The overall portal, how to consume these apps from Azure, is exactly the same like you have from Horizon. So no change for your end users if they use already Horizon 7. You can customize it, you can brand it. So I did this here for a customer. You get your applications, you connect them, you get your single sign-on to your applications when you start that. What we have now, so I started on an iPad, that's why it changed a little bit. What we have now is introduced a little bit in terms of user information, I would say. So we have a feature which allows you to get more information of a user session. So I started the desktop. You saw in the desktop I have a Chrome browser here. The start page is VMware.com. And if I look into my session, I get some more details now in terms of who's connected to the session, what is the CPU load on the server, what is the memory load, what is the disk performance, but also some logon information. So how long does it take? Because you know the standard question from a user is, my logon took 3 minutes. So what happened here? We can get some information. Drill down into the application. So I see here open Google and he's on the website of VMware, for example. So I could kill his session. I could kill his processes or applications which are running there. So maybe an application is going crazy on your VDI desktop. So just select them and end the process. So pretty powerful. You don't need to make a WebEx with your user to do some basic troubleshooting things. And this gets improved, so you will see a lot of analytics, you will see a lot of more report functionality into Horizon Cloud, so just stay tuned and look at the news, what's going on in Horizon Cloud. Now going, to Kim.
Okay.
And
I'll switch back to the presentation.
That may help. Oh no, we have the infrastructure, sorry. But I'm running out of time.
You can still take another minute, fine.
Yeah, so what's the difference? You heard about Citrix, and it was interesting on Friday to hear the panel discussion. More or less, we got as an output no customers production on Horizon, on Citrix. In Azure, we are. So we have customers using this solution production. We have customers who are happy to talk with you about the experience. So what is the difference between Citrix and the Horizon solution? So we are much smaller in terms of infrastructure. We need one single Linux virtual machine in your Azure subscription. And this do everything. So we don't use our existing Horizon technology and put it into the cloud like Citrix is doing it. So they use the on-prem legacy stuff and put it into the cloud. We build everything from scratch to build the cloud solution. So that's the main difference. When it comes to the infrastructure, it's much simpler, much cheaper in this case. You know, Microsoft charges you a little bit for capacity. And this is the key. So we have some customers tried Citrix, were really happy with it, and then they saw the solution, tested it, and now they move over. And as I said, if you want to talk with customers, we are happy to link you with them, why they go from Citrix Cloud to the VMware Cloud. Because it's just simpler, easier, and at the end of the day, it's cheaper for the customer to run that. Last slide, but also very important, especially in Europe, GDPR is active now. How does the end user connect to an application or to a desktop in Verizon Cloud and Azure? In our way, it's an end user is connecting to a UAG, which is a Linux appliance, sits in a DMC, and then goes straight to the desktop. Fast connection, secure connection, and all the authentication of an end user is happened in the Azure region. It's not happened in the VMware Cloud. We don't store or we don't use any user data in the VMware Cloud. It's going all straight to the end desktop. If you see this, and this is an official picture from Citrix, you know, I don't need to tell you how they authenticate, but they roll the stuff into the Citrix Cloud, do some analytics there, and roll it back to the Azure node, which makes absolute no sense in terms of latency, in terms of costs, because Azure charges you for every traffic, but also in terms where is the data stored. So GDPR is a very challenging thing here to discuss with customers. Where's my data stored? Who get access to it? How can I delete this data? Things like that. So just keep that in mind if you talk about that. So we prefer to have everything in your responsibility, in your Azure region, very straight, very lean in terms of authentication. All right, now I'm done. Or is there any question?
How we can do questions after the session?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do questions after the session. So I want to do a demo of how you can use your phone to access that same workspace that you just saw. And basically give the same user experience on any device. However, the beamer doesn't have an HDMI connector, so that's off the table. But that's okay, I've got some other topics I would like to tell you about. For instance, what about Dell? I recently moved to the AirWatch team, doing a lot of modern management with Windows 10 now. And one of the benefits of the fact that we're now part of the Dell family is that we have very close interaction and we can directly talk to the Dell hardware. What that does is, if you have a Windows 10 device managed by WorkspaceOne, and it's a Dell device, you can make the whole management and enrollment piece a lot easier. You can directly enroll your devices from the factory, and you can control the Dell hardware to the BIOS level, to the firmware level, and make sure that you control anything on the device. So, for instance, all the steps that you had to take before to enroll can now be done in 2 steps. Just ship your device from the factory to the end user directly, and the end user only needs to turn on his device and it will enroll automatically into AirWatch. The image from the factory already contains the AirWatch agent, the WorkspaceOne application, and even any other customization that you would have liked. Dell will ship the device directly to the user, and the user just needs to log on. I've got a demo video showing how that works, but it's a pretty cool experience to the end user because it's seamless now. And it just takes away a lot of time and effort and money that you typically had to do to get a device to the end user that you can start using. This is available already for Dell. Of course, we're trying to extend this to other branches like HP, Lenovo, other brands. That will come in the near future. And this is the first version. We're already trying to see how we can improve this in the future. For instance, how to make the enrollment even quicker and faster. Because the image from the factory might contain some agents and some WorkspaceOne app. But if the user enrolls and he's entitled to Office, he might need to download 3, 4, 5 gigabytes of data. If it's connected to a slow internet connection, that might take some time. So we're looking to pre-cache applications in the image already in the factory, just to make sure that the enrollment and the user experience becomes even faster and even more seamless to the end user. So that's one of the things I would like to tell you. Enrollment. The other thing that we can do with Dell hardware is control the hardware. So what we can do is we can actually reach out and gather all the hardware information from your Dell devices into your infrastructure. We can detect whether you have a certain amount of devices that have out-of-date BIOS levels, or if you want to update the firmware for your hardware. We can even check the health of your devices. For instance, we can run a report that says, give me the health of all the batteries out there in my laptop devices. If you see that 10% of the batteries are degraded and don't perform very well anymore, you can just order them, ship them out to the end users and say, I've ordered you a new battery for your laptop because I've seen proactively that your battery is not good anymore, so please replace it and you're good to go. So it gives you a lot of control and make sure that your device always stays secure, stays up to date, and you have the right information. Here's a demo of the enrollment piece. It's pretty quick, but I'll show it anyway. The user just turns on his device out of the box, chooses his region and his keyboard layout, that's it. Then he will get the WorkspaceOne single sign-on experience. Just type in your username and password, and immediately you will see anything that's happening. It will download the Wi-Fi profile, the VPN profile, it will start downloading apps, and as soon as it's ready to go, not all the apps might be there, but the user can already start working, you will see the WorkspaceOne app. So it's that simple, only your email address, your password, and you will be single sign-on to your WorkspaceOne, and you can actually start using your apps like Workday or any other application that you would like to use. So it's a very, to the user, I think to the end user, it's one of the best experiences that you can have. If your device gets stolen, get lost, etc., just a new one gets shipped from the factory, or something that you may have laying in your warehouse that's already coming from the factory. Just log on and you're good to go already, and it will synchronize your applications, download anything that you need from there what you can. So the second topic I would like to cover, because I had something else, but Sean kind of stole my thunder in his session yesterday. So thanks, Sean, for that. No problem. I had to come up with something else. I've got a screenshot here that I'll live demo with. What it does is, with WorkspaceOne or with any modern management approach, there's still need for policies. Windows 10 still, even if you use this modern management approach, you still want to apply some policies to your endpoint devices. For instance, the firewall. Do you want to enable the firewall? Do you want to add some specific rules? BitLocker policies. You might be even AppLocker to stop using applications, stuff like that. The problem is, with traditional GPOs, you had like 4,000 GPO settings. With modern management, through the modern management API, Microsoft only gives you access to about 1,000 of those GPOs. Those are the most important ones, so you can definitely start moving there. But with every version of Windows 10 that comes out, Microsoft adds more policies, more features to control through this modern management API. The problem is, if you need to build a GUI, a graphical user interface, and a web interface around all these settings, it's nearly impossible to keep up. So we do support any new policy that comes out with a new Windows 10 version immediately. However, if you want to configure these policies, you sometimes need to fall back to custom XML, custom SyncML policies that Microsoft uses for their CSPs. Intune has this as well. I think any modern management tool has this problem that the policies that come out are coming out more quickly than we can keep up building GUIs for them. So that's an issue, because you now need to type custom XML commands to set a simple policy. What we've done is we've built a tool, a Fling. Let's see if I can switch to that Fling and if it's still active. There we go. Quickly want to show you what it looks like to do this. Let's cancel this one. Well, this is what it looks like. I'm going to cancel this one and see if I can. Oh yeah, I'm not used to using a Mac, so I was fighting with the mouse earlier already. So this is your AirWatch or WorkspaceOne UVM portal. If you want to send out a policy to the user, it's called a profile here. So once I click Add Profile, I can log on again. Luckily, yep, there we go. We can don't show this again, not now. Close this. Devices. Profiles. See if I can create a new profile again. The Wi-Fi connection should be good. Yep, there we go. Add profile. So this is what you typically do to push out a new firewall rule or any other policy setting to your end users. We're going to make this policy for Windows, desktops. It's going to be a device profile, because I want to send it out device-wide instead of user. And as you can see on the left, we already have a GUI for a lot of the profiles. You can already configure your email client, your Wi-Fi, VPN, firewall, etc. But there's definitely far more policies available that are available in this GUI. So what you need to do typically is go to custom settings, then go to the configure, and then use the Microsoft CSP website to find out the correct XML command to type in here to push out that specific setting. What we've done is we've created a tool which is going to be released as a Fling called the Policy Builder. Let's see if I'm still logged on here. No, but I can probably log back in again. And what this does, it shows you an overview of all the CSPs available from the Microsoft website. So these are the thousands and even more policies that are available. So you can just scroll through this list, select the policy that you would like to send out to the user. Let's just pick one as an example. Click configure, and then it will show you an overview of all the policies. And now you all of a sudden have a web interface. So you can now say the firewall for the public profile should be on. And immediately, as soon as I type something, this is the SyncML layout that needs to be copy pasted to ours. So this makes configuration a lot easier. Just click the copy button, go back to your average profile, paste it here, and you're good to go. Now you can save this profile, push out that specific policy settings to your user, and all of a sudden you now have a GUI for any new policy available. So the CSP tool is pretty awesome. I think any modern management tool suffers from this, so you could even use it for Intune or any other tool if you would like. It's not available yet, and I think I was not allowed to talk about it yet, but well, I've shown you, and if you want to tweet about it, please don't, but I don't think I can say that on Expert. But if you tweet about it, just blame Sean so that I won't get into trouble, but I had to come up with an alternative. But yeah, that's what I wanted to show you, and I think this will definitely help a lot of customers in expanding it. I see a question, can you save it for after Peter's done?
Make sure Alan knows not to put that video on the web.
That's fine. It's a fling anyway, so it's probably sort of not supported, but it's just a tool that helps you and saves you a lot of time in typing out all these XML commands manually. But it's not finalized yet, but it will be available soon. Peter? Yeah, we probably need to switch back to the presentation.
And the good news is I don't have to pay fund for anything because you didn't steal any fund from me, so thank you for that. So, I mean, Felix and Pim covered the WorkspaceOne part. The question is why we are talking about WorkspaceOne, and I mean, we see that Citrix is basically validating our vision that we have with WorkspaceOne for 3 years now, because what they announced with the Workspace App is very similar to what we do. The main reason for that is really that if you look at the landscape on the VDI published application, published desktop side, and application delivery, it is like a Swiss clockwork. Yeah, you need, I don't know, thousands of wheels. They need to be well oiled and go into each other to make that worthwhile to do. And you need a lot of infrastructure and different components, which obviously increases the knowledge, the skill set that you need to have. You need to manage your Citrix environment, you need to manage absence or any user environment management, you have application virtualization, you have Unidesk, you have champs for your Mac OS estate. You probably need Mobile Iron because you're using that, or you use Intune. So it's a lot of stuff that you need to think of, and you need to combine to give the user a great experience. The challenge is that even if you give them that great experience, you are managing a lot of moving parts, and you have lots of connection between, and you need to understand how they work together to make that actually work. So our aim was really with WorkspaceOne to simplify that and bring that into a single platform where you have all those functionalities and you can cover all the use cases with a single platform that you deploy, and with that you manage your estate. And I mean, if you look at the wider picture, we are talking about desktop and app virtualization or desktop and app delivery. You need real-time apps, you need VDI, you need application virtualization, you need some kind of application catalog. You probably think of desktop as a service because that makes it a little bit easier. You have instant clone technology that you can use. You need to have some monitoring, and you need advanced user management in terms of profile settings, application settings, and so on and so forth. So that's already a lot of stuff, and that's not necessarily all in one product. The next level is then really the mobile management, where with the mobile management you have to have all that in your solution or cover all that to make the user experience as rich as possible. And on top of that, you have now the unified endpoint management with Windows 10 Modern Management, Macs, Chromebooks, and all that. And then on top of that, you need access management and policies because you want to control that device, that user, give him access to certain application, but not from every place. You want to introduce some self-service. You have to get around the Office 365 security because you want to use that to an extent to restrict that he can't, copy corporate data onto a private device and use that. So encryption, all that kind of stuff is really important. And if you look at the different solutions that I just presented before, you can see that there are some gaps in the different product stacks. And that is really the main difference because you have pockets of functionalities and solutions that you can combine, but you still end up with having maybe only a subset of that available. And that is really where you come to a point where you have different solutions, let's say SOTI or Jamf, you have Microsoft with Intunes, you use Mobile Iron, you use Liquid Labs or other products to combine that to a rich user experience. And if you look at the different stacks that you have to have, first of all, it's a cost, it's a skill gap that you have, or you need to have more skills, and you need to be basically jack of all trades to figure all that out and configure all that, and that is obviously ending up in cost. So our aim was really to unify that, and just to give you an example on what the difference is in terms of knowledge and technology. So you need 4 or 5 people on the right hand side, and if you look at the VMware solution, you need a single person that can manage the entire platform and still deliver a great user experience for, in my opinion, a very competitive price. And that's really where the customer gets the benefit. It's easier to manage, simpler to manage, and it is less products, and you give them a better user experience. So that is really where you wanna be. To give you some examples, and Felix covered that, it's also important for partners to understand, what's their value of implementing a different solution. And I give you here 3 examples where we basically have a VDI solution, either Verizon Cloud on Azure, to see what the difference is in terms of functionality, services that we deliver, and the revenue that you make as a partner out of the license revenue plus the third-party services. Because as Felix described, we are providing the platform, but the image management, the application packaging, the user entitlements, the user management is something that a third party or a partner or the customer needs to do himself. And those are 3 examples. In that case, it's a utility company in the UK. We introduced 150 cloud desktops. They use this as a third-party access. They have a consulting company that logs into their environment, does their bookkeeping. So we are talking about 100 million a month in terms of bills that they have to pay. So highly important service for them, because if they don't deliver or pay on time, they get penalties, they don't get the discounts. So very, very sensitive in 10, 12 days of the month, where they need to really produce the bills and send them out. Partner implementation, if you look, we are talking about 5 times 6K per month for the pilot. We are talking about £220,000 for a 24-month subscription. And the service was done by a partner. The project implementation was around about 20 grand, project management 10 grand, and then the ongoing managed services. And if the customer typically buys a 24-month subscription on Verizon Cloud, he will obviously contract with a third-party partner that maintains the infrastructure for the same amount of time, because he wants to have someone that takes care of the functionalities and the management. And in that small case, we are talking about 30,000 for services plus the ongoing management. That is basically what you can make out of additional management of the platform. Yeah? Similar example, UK goods company. They work in healthcare, hygienic have 25 global brands that they maintain. A very similar use case, we have 300 cloud desktops, a global user base in 3 regions. They use an accounting service as well. Their main focus was to get that up as quick as possible. Before they did it, shipping laptops to those 3 countries so the accountants can VPN in and basically use that solution to do their bookkeeping. To deliver a device down into those countries took 6 to 8 weeks. We built the entire stack into a production fashion in less than 4 weeks for the customer, including network and everything that they need. Revenue 400,000 in terms of licensing. They just renewed their 12-month subscription and they extend to around about 800 end of this month because they found more and more use cases where different departments said, oh, that's great, can I use that kind of desktop as well because it's easy and simple to manage for me and I just need to have more subscription and then you can get that. Their return of investment was basically in the first months of the service because they produce also a lot of bills, so they get penalized if they don't pay on time, they don't get the discount. So we are talking about a 2-digit million in terms of penalties or lost discounts. 400,000 in terms of the environment, and the partner makes 70,000 a year on the management of the infrastructure and user entitlement and application management. And the third one is a retail company, large retail company. They basically changed the complete interaction with the customers. Before they had static desktops or static workstations with a thin client. They connected to the VDI environment. They had logon times out of around about 7 minutes to log on. So a living nightmare. You're not logging off because you don't know how to log in if a customer comes in. They changed the entire way they interact. They have now Chromebooks. They greet the customer on the door, bring them to a table, show them videos while they collect the data and the information to give them, an offer. That reduces their amount of time they need to spend with a customer so they can service more customers in an 8-hour window in the shop. It gives the user a much better user experience. And in that scenario, we reduce the logon time from 7 minutes to 7 seconds, and that's really where you want to be because you can log off and come back in like 5 minutes after that and log in because it only takes 7 seconds versus 7 minutes before. So user experience is greatly enhanced. We are talking about a contract of 1 million. The pilot was 30 grand. And if you look at the third party, the partner that is managing that infrastructure is making 130,000 in one tenure for the service, image management, user entitlement, application packaging, and all that. So that gives you a rough idea in terms of what we do or how you as a partner can get additional value out of a cloud solution because you're managing the entire infrastructure and the entire stack, and that gives you really the additional benefit and the additional value. Any questions? I know you need to digest the numbers, I understand.
Maybe it's a stupid question, but I
I
can
know
have the
stupid
WorkspaceOne, I can have everything also on-prem.
Yes, we
I
offer
don't
some.
need another cloud service from you, I want to have
No.
this user experience, the single sign-on to SAP or
If you-
365,
Yeah.
everything, okay.
If you choose to go on-prem, you have the same user experience in on-prem.
Okay.
Obviously, the costs are different because you have to manage the infrastructure. If you go for a SaaS play, the same look and feel, the same infrastructure, but you're not managing that, you're just managing the stack on top.
I know everybody talks about cloud, but in Swiss banking it's still a
I know,
little bit
yeah.
difficult.
I mean, the German guys are similar, so they don't trust cloud.
Yeah.
To some extent, it also depends on the vertical.
Okay.
Financial is obviously, but we have the same offering as a on-prem version as well.
Cool, this was a great question.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think most of our offerings are still as on-prem available. Same with WorkspaceOne or UEM, AirWatch. You can still deploy it on-prem. But what you see is that more and more customers definitely start moving to the cloud, and that the vendors move there as well.
Yeah.
We have discussion that with the Citrix CTPs on cloud, and even Tim Menger, who's this industry for decades already. He says, well, cloud is coming. Might take a little while, but
Yeah, our Linux guys and our AI, they're also already in the cloud for event and stuff like this.
But at least we have an alternative. Microsoft Intune, for instance, is cloud only. With AirWatch, you can still do on-premise.
We should have a point of clarification. There are two things we offer today that are only cloud. Actually, three things technically. Verizon Cloud is only cloud, although there is an on-prem version of it. Our new intelligence service we launched is cloud only, and mobile flow is cloud only. The mobile productivity automation, but those are cloud services only. But almost everything else runs on-prem.
What about the endpoint? So what agent do I need on the endpoint? I'm thinking about Linux thin clients.
Yes, I mean, we have basically three different protocols. We have the PC over IP client, where you have the Verizon client installed on the device. You can use an HTML5 browser, and with Plastic Stream, you have a combination of the HTML5 browser and the Verizon client, and that gives you the richest experience compared PCIP and Plastic Stream. Is basically feature parity. You can do file drive mapping, printer mapping, all that functionalities. And
You're asking about client.
Client.
We don't
client
have
management.
client
So
management.
if
You don't need- you
let's
don't
say
need
a bit an older thin client, so about 2 to 3 years old. So can I use this functionality?
yes, you can. If the thin client supports either the capability to run the Verizon client on top of that, or if you have an HTML5 browser, you can access the infrastructure without any problem.
Okay.
Yeah? Great question. So we're on the gift.
Maybe it's just taking care of that. Yeah.
Java clients support the Google platform to run the service on Google. We have other education clients and a lot of services from Google Cloud. So can we host Verizon here from Google?
Horizon Cloud is only available at the moment on IBM software
Yeah.
and on Azure. And then we have a different flavor of Horizon 7 on AWS, but the stack in terms of the management is a little bit different, but we don't have any partnerships or any functionalities in Google at the moment, but I let Sean comment on if he can on the future.
No comment.
No comment.
Nothing public to announce right now.
Here was the question? Yeah.
The WorkspaceOne. You install that actually on the premise as well as frontend. I thought that was cloud only as Citrix Cloud was, so that authentication came in there.
I think you can install WorkspaceOne on-prem as well. You just have to make sure that you open up the right firewall portals, etc. But you can definitely do an on-prem installation of
It can be.
Identity Manager. And, yeah.
Identity Manager, the WorkspaceOne solution is also available as an on-prem version.
Okay.
Yeah. And we have customers, they use it on-prem still. Yeah.
What about visualize operations intelligence for the helpdesk tool? You showed the new helpdesk tool. Also
Yeah.
in the cloud is also the same as the 7.5 jump functionality, I believe.
The vRealize part is not available as part of the Horizon Cloud service, but we have the cloud monitoring service, which is based on vRealize. It's a cloud-based solution, so the functionalities are based on vRealize, but you only have access through the GUI, not to the vRealize suite in that sense. Yeah, but you get the same functionality, so you what Felix showed, latency, connection times,
You get more.
consumption, that is all available. Yeah.
Did you have the same kind of, I wouldn't say limitation, but the restrictions like Citrix Cloud that 25 users, you have to commit for 1 year?
Nothing. So you have
Maybe repeat the question.
repeating. So do we have any limitations like Citrix with if you have 25 users or more, you need to buy 12 months contract? Was this the question? So we have the minimum commitment is 50 user licenses. So one user license is $8, so pretty cheap, and on a monthly base. So if you want to have a monthly contract, you can extend it all the time, but you can have to have a little more discount, a 12 months contract or 24 months, but you can always mix and match. So you can have a 12-month contract, but maybe you have a peak for 3 months where you need more users, then you just buy 3 times 1 month subscription. So we don't care about that.
And important is also if you purchase the Horizon Cloud license, so the user license that gives you access to the platform, you have two bit different plays. On IBM software, you obviously buy additional capacity. On Azure, you buy that through Azure, but you can transfer the license between the different offerings. So if you start with Horizon Cloud, for example, and your strategies go to long-term to Azure, you can transfer the license across and consume the license after that on Azure or split it between the environments. That's really, so the license is unique in terms of the cloud offerings. You can move between the different clouds that we
And it's getting now extended, so previously Horizon 7, so the traditional on-premise was perpetual license, one-time buy, long-term use. Now you can buy it on a subscription base as well. So if you have a subscription, then you are fully flexible in terms of users when to use. So it's not only the cloud products, even now the Horizon 7 on-premise or Horizon on AWS. Because in AWS you have a contract on an hourly base, so super flexible. And on top of that, you can have the subscription license for Horizon 7. So similar features like in the cloud. So it makes it much easier to move. Good question, but I'm sorry I don't have it. But we have these funny stickers, so if someone wants. Any more question? We're running out of time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks very much.